I used to bodge videos together with random ideas and no plan, but this just wasn't giving me results. So I learned how the professionals do it. So today we're going to cover the anatomy of a screenplay and how you can adapt it to content creation. I'll show you how to write a story, what tools you can use. Hey, look, I got a new thing. But something I do want to do is just match the color a bit better. So let's just, this is sort of, I'm just going to do this live. Just match match it a bit closer to what I'm wearing. This is Squares TV App Lab number 131, where I show you how to use the tools I've created to look better on video. I'm Michael Forrest. I make video pencil, shoot, CueCam presenter. It's just me designing, coding, making videos, live streaming and talking to you. I'm a company of one person, so I made these tools so I can concentrate on my job instead of editing videos all the time. This is all CueCam, so this stream comes live via CueCam presenter. No eCam, no OBS, no Keynote, no audio hijack, no audio loopbook and no NDI. It's all just coming out of my own app, CueCam presenter. It's not so much merch, Neil, as well. I got myself one, although it seems like it might be achievable as merch. It wasn't too much. So let me know. Let me know in the comments if you want merch. But yeah, let's start with some updates. And also, I need to make sure that I've got my headphone in, but it's not connected. But thanks to the magic of voice isolation, you cannot hear what's coming out of the laptop speakers. Also, I was going to remote control from my iPad, but I'm on 2.1 here to show you, and I only put that in the main one. Right, listen. Speaking of 2.1, this is Video Pencil 2.1 is on TestFlight. I've already had some great feedback, and I know there are a couple of important fixes before I can push it out. But the main thing is, I will try and demo this. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to get the iPad in position. Trouble is I'm standing in a different place, so let's see what happens. I should put the wide angle lens on really, but let's just go. Let's go to the Osmo and see what happens. So here is the, and I need to say, I always forget to do this. Second camera shows iPad. And do you know what? I reset everything. I was testing the installation process, and all my loads of CueCam stuff is reset. So I need to go demo tools and then go second camera shows video pencil. And then it's not going to show feedback. But the main thing you're going to see is, oh my God, guys. Like I spent so long on the main content of today's thing that I did not really have time to do much of a updates preparation. But the main thing you're going to see that's new in Video Pencil is up here. There's a little sidebar. And you can actually basically create a script inside Video Pencil. So if we go into our Video Pencil stuff, we can add a couple of clips, right? And then just tick. This is so much easier to do when... yeah, you see it's of course the tech demo is being rambunctious. We can slide out the sidebar, add media, collections. I'm going to go to my video clips, add them. Maybe I'll just add a picture from today. This one. Okay, it's being weird. Okay, let's. This is why you don't do a tech demo without just making sure it's going to work. But what I will do is just show you, for example, if we were to pick from files a PDF file. Of course, it's quite big. Right, when it can load in a PDF file. And then each of the cards comes in, right, as its own separate thing. You can draw on each one separately. And so I think this is going to be great news for a lot of people. Just being able to either like trim out your video clips. So two main things this is for. Sorry, let's just close the picture. Two main things this is for is basically it's for people that that are just on the iPad. Now you can create a sequence of clips and or load in a PDF and just draw on that, record a video, put that out on the Apple TV in the changing room, whatever you're doing. So it just allows you to have a lot more structure when you're doing educational stuff. Yeah, I would usually take some take some footage of that demo, but yeah, don't worry about it. You don't need to see the demo, just that. Right. The other main thing that I've been working on is getting a CueCam 4 beta out, which I'm hoping to release the first version of tomorrow. Just trying to get all the most egregious bugs out of it because it's a pretty major change. So, just in summary, here's what I felt was wrong with CueCam 3.0. Too many windows. So you've got the live camera window and you've got the camera settings window. You've got all these like miscellaneous windows kicking about. I didn't like that. Editing was just too indirect. You sort of have to do things in the sidebar, or there's a hover over thing, or you've got to edit the cards. I wanted to make it so you can double click on the text and edit the text, stuff like that. Click on the background image, press the delete key. That deletes the background, right? Like, just all this stuff, just make it more Mac native feeling. I've always felt it's a bit fiddly to make longer scripts and to edit them, and so I've sort of been rethinking how that works. I've always, I feel like there's too many controls. There's that like weird zooming and cropping. Like when you're kind of like zooming in on a video, that can be a bit weird, and then I think it's like unclear what video feed is going out, and then I think there's just a few too many clicks when you're sharing things as well. So what have I come out with? Right, we've got the new version of CueCam 4.0. It's got this unified window, so there's no more separate live camera window. You just pop open the sidebar once you're ready to start creating a script. You can just double click the camera to edit, and the settings are a lot clearer and a lot more and there's a couple more little things in there. You can sort of double click on a picture. So instead of like always zooming when you move the mouse wheel, now it's more like Keynote. You double click on a thing. I want to set it to this zoom. I want to change the size of it. That's going to work with images. You can click anything on a card to start editing it, and everything is supposed to just work. It's a lot more hands-on than it used to be. So you can just start building a script with the sidebar, and then like in the sidebar, you click on it once, and just basically when you click on it, that's what's going out on the camera. Double click to actually present it, or it'll just be like the first frame of it if it's a video. So if you want to, and it feels quite natural. I think once you get your hands on it, you'll be like, oh, right, okay, yeah. So we don't need this like I'm presenting. Well, there is a little bit of that presenting mindset, but it's not kind of like Keynote style in the same way anymore. There's a new script editor, which works more like a screenplay, right? And this is something I'm going to go into more detail about today, and kind of why I'm doing this video today. Cards are more like scenes. Oh no. I'm going to want to replace scenes with screenwriting scenes instead of things. But yeah, cards. Shared content shows up as action blocks. Again, I'll show you more about what that means in a moment. Typed in action when you're editing the script becomes comments to yourself. Dialogue is your speaker notes. Oh my goodness. And then you see, and then you can make the sidebar wider to, you can bring back the old way of editing with the cards as well. There's a new share bar, which is now a search field. So you can just search your whole Mac just to find a file to share, press enter, just do it from the keyboard. You can see your history of what you've shared, and then it's a detachable control. So you can just like, you can just move it around and take it with you to Zoom and stuff. And I got rid of that old status bar menu, which I never used. It was just kind of the wrong thing. There's a clearer teleprompter, so there's one button to full screen it to your prompter or whatever, and also it works with long text now. So if you've got a lot of text in a card, it will scroll through the paragraphs as you press next, and then once you get to the end of that card, it will go to the next one. So you don't have to sort of do this awkward thing of splitting text across a lot of cards that you've always had to do with CueCam. There are some new features. Yeah, as I said, you can search. You can search your Mac for content. You can search the web for pictures and images. So it goes to Pexels and grabs some stuff if you need some sort of stock footage. You can search through your screen shares and just find stuff immediately. You don't have to like click and do like multiple steps. You can go through your history and also like all the document. Basically, like CueCam indexes all its documents anyway, just to be able to do jump to doc. But now you'll be able to actually like find a card in another script and just bring it in, all kind of stuff. So it's just going to be a lot more quick and fluid. There is a new guest mode, which basically works. It's a really simple version. It works as a screen share. So you go, this window is Zoom, right? And you can crop that in. And then the virtual mic, now instead of being the sort of thing that's recorded and goes to the live stream, it's a mix minus source. So you can use it in Zoom, and then your guest can hear everything you're playing out, all the audio you're playing out, but they won't hear themselves back. So it's just this really natural way of doing a guest mode where you can just like lean on some other software. It's not like built in. It doesn't add 400 megabytes of bloat to the download like the Zoom SDK might, so that's guest mode. That's sort of my lightweight way of doing it. Talk more about that soon. I've also added dual output for recording, and the way that CueCam works is I'm going to try and add streaming to that as well, because I saw YouTube lets you do two things. Sorry, I saw a question. So dual output recording, and basically I still need to like tidy up my vertical mode, but unlike say Ecamm or OBS's dual output stuff, you're not having to maintain two parallel scenes for everything, because CueCam is really in charge of laying out that content, because it's never making you say this goes to this XY coordinate. It's just saying this is the content. So we're going to start to really see the advantage of like this separation of content from presentation once we've got this dual output. Neil says, for guest mode, have you done any testing with regards to audio sync between what the guest is hearing versus what they're seeing, and how the lip sync works well in the screen share? So while in the screen share, I guess you're saying. I am actually planning on our call next week to just like see what it feels like, because I sort of want to do it on a stream, but I thought, hey, that would be a good time. So Neil, you will be helping me guinea pig that next week. So the next thing, again, I've also done like a little laser pointer without an iPad. So if you haven't got an iPad running Video Pencil, but you still just want to like highlight something, that's what happens when you click the toolbar now. I've got some fun some effects, right? You've seen them here and there, like they do exist, but I'm finally adding some UI for them. So like I've got this drama effect, which just sort of darkens the background and puts an echo on your voice. I've got like a noir, which puts everything into a kind of a high contrast black and white. And I've got that celebrate effect. You can just sort of like add that in. I've also got this like rubber stamp effect. So it goes boom with a sound effect, and you can put that full screen. So I've got all these ideas for these different things. I've got a lot more in the pipeline, but finally I'm going to start exposing those things, and they're all really sort of designed in the service of storytelling, right? There's also like a 3D, like if you're doing a screen share, like a little 3D kind of like moving effect that kind of makes those look a bit more interesting. So all these little things that you're finally going to have access to that have been dormant in CueCam with no UI for ages. And also finally I've got an offline camera extension, so it will connect to Video Pencil even if CueCam isn't currently running, which is so it will save your camera settings. It will know what your camera settings are. You'll have to launch CueCam to change the settings and stuff again, but it will work offline. You won't have to do any. You won't have to have it running. So you won't have to remember to start it up. And also that then means it's not doing all the other CueCam stuff at the same time. It's just doing the video feed. So yeah, that's a lot. For CueCam, I've got a few bugs to fix tomorrow. I don't know how many. I think it's going to go out a little janky in the first version, because as you see, it's pretty stuffed with new stuff. But I had a really good session yesterday, just getting through everything. And tomorrow, I think probably most of it, my day is going to be taken up making a video to show you what's in there, just to prepare you for it. But yeah, let's talk about screenwriting. Quite warm in this. It's quite warm today. But you see I've got my nice little, my nice little CueCam logo. Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop. Right. Okay. Screenwriting for content creators. That's what we're talking about. So, as I say, I used to make videos by waiting for an idea and then just hitting record. And I remember sitting in my flat using tools like ScreenFlow to whittle all my little clips or sort of slowly put something together. Like sometimes it was screen shares, sometimes it was other stuff. So you sort of, I would sort of finally get it into something resembling a video, but I had some experiences where you could just spend a month trying to get something to work, and you just go, God, I really, this technique isn't giving me the best results, and I need to start planning things out properly instead of just doing all these false starts. So that meant that I needed a writing process. So I was like, okay, well, I better start writing stuff. So I was about to jump into Google Docs and start trying to like fudge my own approach, but then I thought, well, I might as well see how the professionals do it. So I did some research, right? I watched some Linda tutorials and stuff. Like I went through some online courses, I learned the basics of screenwriting. So today I'm going to show you how the film and TV industry do things before showing you how to adapt and simplify that process to content creation for YouTube and TikTok. So let's start with the anatomy of a screenplay. So what's in a screenplay? Well, a screenplay is a standardized document format that uses this handful of elements to tell a story. So you've got your kind of standard fade in, just like bookending the script. You've got your scene headings that are like interior, exterior. You've got action lines written in the present tense saying what is happening on screen. But also sometimes like what's happening in the character's mind as well. You've got your character introductions in all caps. You've got your dialogue blocks. You've got parentheticals like beat or let's say how you're going to say something. You've got these little extensions that tell you, okay, this is a voiceover, this is off screen, this is like the dialogue is continuing from the last thing. You've got your transitions, cut to this, and then you're sort of like putting props like in all caps, like sandwich. So these are basically the conventions of screenwriting. And it sounds like a lot, but it's not actually that hard, and it keeps things really familiar to everyone involved in a production, so they can focus on the content of your story, like what you're actually saying, instead of like your weird formatting that you've done. And something really handy to know about the format is that it's designed so that each page is about 1 minute of footage. So if you've got 10 pages, okay, that's going to be about 10 minutes. So here is an example of a screenplay, like page 1. This is from HBO's The Pit, which I am currently watching between my fingers. Oh no, I can still hear the sounds. It's a medical drama. It's it's pretty intense, but yeah, it's really good. So here we can see the blocks of text styled according to their purpose. So let's do a bit of this. Right, so this is, there's your fade in, right? There is your scene heading, right? Exterior. Pittsburgh skyline, day, right? And then here is the action. This is what's happening. This is what's going on. And then we've got, if we sort of can't move that up a bit, come on. You can see we've got we've got a like a character introduction here. Oops. Let's circle it. Okay, we've got this sort of character introduction here, and then here is dialogue. So that's the name of the character is in caps there, and then what they're saying is there. And you see the action is kind of lined up to the, is sort of the full width. And the is this? I think I've just found a new problem with Video Pencil. Yeah, like when you're zoomed, it's different. So you see there's this different indentation for the paragraphs of text, for the dialogue as for the action. So you can this is instantly like recognizable and readable. So here, now we're on page 2 and we sort of bring in the page number, and like page numbers, we're on page 2. That's such an important thing when you got like 100 people on a production. And also they do all this stuff with like different versions as well. It's all very interesting. Um, we can see stuff like where is it? The photo is that of, oops. the Here we've got the photo, right? So that's a prop showing, and that sort of tells you what that prop's going to be. Um, and then we see our first sort of parenthetical in the dialogue, sort of like down here. It actually says what language they're speaking. It's like a Filipino language. So that's sort of like, and this is just sort of like directions to the actors, just to kind of like say how they should deliver a line, which, you're supposed to use sparingly, but like it's just something else for dialogue. And then page 3, dialogue, action, and stuff that's really cool that you can spot like a nice screenplay is it's got this economy of phrasing that tells the story, gives the actors everything they need to know, but it also creates that tension that keeps you reading. So it's like it's you've got Robbie. Has anyone seen Dr. Abbott? He looks all around. No one offers up a reply. He drops off. He goes, really? And unfortunately, Robbie knows what this means. And what is it? He's goes up in the lift and then heads for the helicopter pad, and then finds his colleague looking like he's about to jump on the top of the building, right? So it's like already we're kind of introducing like, oh God, this is bad, right? So this is and this is obviously like, some really good screenplay action right there. So, and I actually find that reading a good screenplay is almost as good as watching the final production, which is going to be really important when that final production is going to cost millions to create, right? If you can sort of get an idea of how it's going to feel before you even like, hire the crew, that's really important. Actually, like back in the old days when I used to watch, before you could like, not that I know how to do this, torrent TV shows, you used to be able to get the scripts. So I couldn't watch Angel episodes in like the early 2000s, but I could find the scripts online, and I used to be in my like office job, and I used to like read the scripts for each new episode of Angel. It was great. And then you watch the real one and you see how it changes a bit, you see what got cut and stuff like that, but it was really cool to read those. But yeah, like we're not in the position to spend millions of pounds on what we're doing. But so how are things different for us lowly content creators? Let's talk about screenwriting content. So if you're just writing something for yourself, you probably don't need to establish a lot of characters or indicate the tone of any particular line delivery, because you already know, you wrote it. Usually it'll just be you on camera in one location, maybe your office. But maybe you want to shoot different lines in different locations, just make things a bit more interesting. Like Climate Town. That's what Climate Town or Map Men does. They went to a boat for this little bit. Or maybe you want to play different characters. Like you can do that. Like, and anything goes. Like Ryan George, he does it. Here he is, like that. Also, Matt Men did this. I don't know why everyone's dressing up as the king, but good gag. And then you might need some B-roll to show the steps of a process or provide some ambience and visual interest. Or you might want to add some motion graphics or other illustrations like this. So with a script, you can plan all of this out ahead of time. It's not just limited to dialogue. It's not like what you're going to say. It's also like, what am I going to show? What do I need? Right? You can, you can sort of like get all this stuff together. So let's talk about the tools you'll use to do that, because you could just sit down with a typewriter. That's how people used to do it, right? Like, I know the format of the script, I'm just going to write it out. Right? That's how they used to do it. But things are a lot easier with a good piece of screenwriting software. So this software won't only help you format your document in that standard style, but it also understands what the elements mean. So you can pull out things like a list of locations, a list of characters. What's the percentage of this character speaking lines? How many scenes is this character in? All those kind of like tools it can give you, because it understands this is dialogue, this is action, this is a prop. So yeah, it's a lot more than just like the text, right? So you could do what I did and shell out $300 for Final Draft Pro, which is the the industry standard thing, which they say is used by 95% of Hollywood. Or you could get Beat, which I kind of wish I'd done, which is a free open source script writing tool, and often it works better. Although I was trying to reuse it on the iPad and it was a bit crashy, so I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to show you how to use Beat. First, I'm going to drink some water. So here's Beat. So with Beat, can I have my face cam back? Oh, I can. Right, I fixed that bug last week. So what you're doing, what's happening here is we are wishing that we had not put the 2.1 on the iPad. So look, when you start typing, right, and you see as soon as you type int, okay, it knows that's a scene heading, right? Full stop. That means that it bolds it. It knows it's a scene heading. Then you start, like, what happened there was I started typing a name in caps. Usually, so it was like, oh, that's a character name, but then I kept going with a space, and it's like, oh no, this is action. Michael is sitting at his desk. Imagine, how did I come up with this scintillating screenplay? Let's go a bit faster, shall we? Right, so then you see, like, at the start of the next line, I actually press tab to go, watch this. So I press tab to go straight into the middle, okay, because I've got dialogue. And then I press enter, and now, if I put brackets, it knows that's a parenthetical. If I don't, then it knows it's dialogue. And you see how it's just going to, like, automatically indent that. And so you're just typing away, typing your dialogue. I'm arguing with an LLM, which I am known to do. And so then we press enter, we're back to the start of the line, and once again this is action. So we've got we've got our scene heading, we've got our action, we've got our dialogue, which that's just me talking, and then we've got another scene heading, and you see that automatically gets a number, and then we're sort of like focusing some props, oatcakes, so all this stuff is kind of like slowly emerging. You see, I'm just like typing away. Really, all I'm doing is maybe pressing tab sometimes, maybe pressing enter. But actually, I could probably get away without even pressing tab or enter. It just kind of like knows kind of what I'm doing. It's just the screenwriting software knows about it. And you may have seen then that when I sort of went in to add a scene, it can now like autocomplete from the scenes, right, from the different scenes that are already in there. So it sort of like knows, it's developing an understanding of what's going on in this script. So yeah, we just keep going. We're typing away. We've got our action, and this is just going to sort of quickly emerge. I'm going to just speed this up a bit. And then we can do stuff like, okay, there's a bit of voiceover, Michael in voiceover, and we can just type it away. Right, so that's kind of what the experience of using one of these tools is like. You can also use the fountain format in Beat to kind of do this, do these notes, and you'll see, like, if I use this square bracket format, it won't print, but it will kind of like be understood by the document. So you see everything that's written in there is getting sort of mirrored up here. So you're sort of like creating your list of tags and stuff. I like to treat graphics as scenes, right? So I'll have like gfx.main infographic. It seems to be happy for me to do that. So that's kind of like if I want to do a title graphic or a diagram or something like that, I'll kind of like that's how I'll indicate it in the script, and maybe like describe it, or because you can make the scene and then in the action you can describe what the infographic does, and then in the voiceover, this is what I'm going to say over the infographic, right? So it's a really that's how you can approach that. And then the process is just write and rewrite. So you just have to sit down and write a script. So the question is, how do you write something good? And that is beyond the scope of this video, but here are a couple of ideas that I found useful that I have covered before, but I'm going to cover them again. So Dan Harmon's story circle is a way to describe most, standard stories. We start with the status quo. Like, here's a person, we establish the protagonist, they want something, right? And something happens that causes a change. They cross that threshold. They go on their journey. They sort of like find something. They go through these struggles, right? They overcome the challenges, and then they sort of return to where they started, but they're changed now. So it's sort of like this like permanent cycle of I am like this, I want something more, I go out finding it, but I need to change in order to achieve it. Then I come back changed, right? So that can be Star Wars, or it can be I used to spend a day a week editing until I discovered this amazing technique, right? It kind of goes for content too. So when it does come to content, just remember that you're not Luke Skywalker, like this story brand. You are not the hero of the story your audience is. So you are there to be their guide. So you want to help them on their quest. So it's just something to be like aware of when you're making content. Like, don't try and make yourself the hero. As much as I would love to be the hero, like I think it's important that you're helping other people. You're not the guy that they're coming to watch. They want to know how you can help them. Another way of looking at this is to focus on the two key elements. Like, so you've got a desire, I want something, and then you've got a struggle, like what the struggle that you go through to meet that desire. So what does your audience want? What's in their way? How do they overcome it? What did I want to make? What were the steps that I went through to make it? What was the result, right? How did I overcome that struggle? So that's just another like really 2-point checklist. Has my script got these two elements? And then we sort of like, writing is writer's block, right? They call it. But like writing is really an endless process of procrastination and just forcing yourself to sit down, right? And something that you can do if you're really struggling to just sit down and write is to just a bit is probably rooted in like insecurity and like self-hatred, and you want to drink whiskey. Writers are always drinking whiskey, right? It's really hard, right? This is why I spend so much more time editing making software than I do writing scripts, because it's really hard, but like you're so happy once you've done it. But like another one that Dan Harmon said was just like prove to yourself that you're a bad writer, right? Just sit down and write something bad. I'm just going to sit down and write something bad. And you sit down and you're writing. It sort of like loosens you up. And then, you'll probably surprise yourself that some of it wasn't actually that bad. And then you can start building on it and sort of pushing it forwards. And another top tip that I always try and follow, and it's really hard because you just want to keep getting up and eating snacks, is to write an entire draft in one session. So, most videos don't go on for hours, so this is achievable. You can get into the flow, you can immerse yourself in your story, immerse yourself in what you want to talk about, and just get it all out, start to finish. Because then you've got this kind of fully formed thing that you can think about properly. If you just start something and go away and try and come back to it the next day, it's kind of hopeless. And every time I've tried to do that, I've just like, I don't care anymore. And I just kind of want to start again, right? Whereas if I've got a draft, I can look at that and go, okay, let's write a second draft. And you can sort of edit down the first one, or you can just like retype it and sort of go, okay. And you're kind of like processing it again each time. And it's just get that first draft, then you can go and have a break, then you can go for a walk, right? It's really important. So, ideally, you'll write at least 2 or 3 drafts before you record anything. Sometimes you'll write dozens, and the end result will be infinitely better than if you just started recording stuff with no script. And this is the point, like you figure it out in the script, and this is going to save you all manner of unnecessary prop purchases and train tickets and gear, all this kind of stuff that you might be like, oh, I'm going to need one of these for this story. And then you're like, write it, and you're like, oh, I didn't need that at all. Better return that. So then we get onto that production and editing process, right? So as I mentioned, screenwriting tools are great for helping you organize your shoots. So I love generating, when I've done more complicated scripts, I've generated a checklist that I can print out and put on a clipboard and just work my way through. So I did this one where I was doing this live. I had a live show, but I wanted to get some footage of me setting up, some footage of me putting my wires away, like all these little things that were to illustrate the points I was making in this video. um really really good to have like a set. And then I was just able to see like, okay, I've still got to get these 3 shots before I can go. And that's really useful. And you can divide it up by location, even if it's spread throughout the video. You just go, okay, give me all the stuff that's in this location, give me a checklist. And you know, when you are working that way, because your files are all numbered, you can, like you kind of know, because the scenes are all numbered and everything's kind of like structured in that way, you're going to know what the file names need to be, and then it's going to be really easy to like drop the right thing in place. And of course, with these tools, I don't think I mentioned this, was like I've always loved writing a tool to like, go into a Final Draft's XML format and turn that into like a timeline or something like, which I'll show you in a second. But something that you can do these days is just like dump it in an LLM, say, hey, can you just extract all the props and give me a checklist? You can just do that now. It's so easy. Like you don't need to be a coder anymore. But if you do look at Squares TV, you'll see this tool I made that turns a script into a Final Cut timeline. So you've got all your scenes, all the little shots are down there, and they get turned into shots on the timeline with markers and what the dialogue is going to be. And I found this really useful for producing my own videos, because you can just like drop in each bit of footage as you go, and you can sort of record the voiceover, like sync it all up, and it's really, you can even like, if it is a voiceover thing, you can just like see the script, go record all the voiceover, and then start dropping in the clips once you know the timing. So that's really that's some stuff I've made. But what if you didn't need to edit? What if I told you you might not need to do any video editing at all? What if you could get it all in camera in one take? That's really been my North Star for several years now. It's the reason I started producing videos with live streaming software like OBS and Ecamm Live. It's the reason I created tools like Beatsheet and CueCam Presenter. So here is actually how CueCam 4.0 is going to be doing it, right? CueCam 4.0 has a script editor that looks like this. It's very similar, works very similar to Final Draft or Beat, but instead of scenes, you've got your, card one, and it sort of tells you what's on that card. So this is today's video, right? This is today's thing. So you see card one, the scene title is kind of the name of that clip that's playing on a loop. Then, the dialogue becomes, this is the teleprompter text, and then any, triggers and stuff come in like this. But basically it's going to, and you can just like copy all this and like cut it, paste it somewhere else, and it's going to be so much easier to work with than the cards. And then you can just like, exit script editor and sort of come into so you can sort of take up half the screen. You can see your video preview, and you can sort of like have your sidebar with, this is the details for that video. So it's just you're just going to click here. It's going to know that you're on scene on card 2, and then it's able to show you the stuff that relates to card 2 right there. And this is actually like a pretty late change to CueCam 4, but it's one of those things that feels so right that I quite like to get rid of the old way of doing things. So this is the old way of doing it, where each thing is a card, and I'll probably leave that in, but I would like to see how people adapt to having a more kind of screenwritery process than sort of this card thing. But this is a really flexible way to work with CueCam. Even you don't need to, the 4.0 version, you don't need to sort of be able to do this, because any card can show a trimmed video clip, right? So if you wanted to play 2 different characters, you could script it all and then record the second character's lines in one go, split that performance onto the relevant cards, and then just record a run through where you play the main part and you're like talking back to yourself. So you can just like get your secondary footage, put that in the right place, and then just like run through it and do the primary footage. And I think that will lead to some interesting stuff. But more likely you'll want to bring in some B-roll, so you can collect all your different clips and bring them into a CueCam script as you go, and then just do a live run through, so you can show each clip at the right moment and draw on it with video pencil. And really that's exactly what I've been doing today. That's how I always do it, and that's what I'm doing. But at the end of the day, I think if you're doing content creation, you should learn screenwriting. however you want to produce your videos, learning the tricks of the screenwriting trade is well worth it. And the more you do it, the better you'll get. And just remember, it's all just action and dialogue. That's all you got to think about. And there are loads of video courses out there, as well as books like John Truby's The Anatomy of Story or Save the Cat by Blake Snyder. But, you know, a lot of this is screenplay oriented, but you can apply all that stuff. I've got a really good Pixar one, actually, that says how the characters are developed in Pixar ones. It's a little, almost a pamphlet. But yeah, like, we're adapting to a different art form here, right? We're not making movies or TV shows. We're making stuff for YouTube probably, or live streams even. But there's a lot we can learn from that discipline of writing. So good luck. Let me know. I'd just love to hear from you on Discord if you give this a go, like hear how you're getting on. So, if there are any questions, now is your last chance. Oh, I see something. Your app is Michael Heller. Your app is the key. Chain self to the chair and only unlock once you hit. Only unlock once you hit your writing goal. No sneaking off to the kitchen mid-scene. Perfect for scripts where the enemy is just grabbing a snack. I mean, it's so hard. Like I find it with coding as well as writing, but yeah, like nothing gets me harder than trying to sit down and write. But it's just got to be done, and this is why I do a live stream on the schedule. Like I just spent the last 6 hours writing, essentially just trying to kind of put this together for you, and just trying to make sure that I did a couple of runs through, make sure that the graphics all came in right and all that kind of thing. But yeah, it's really important. I think it leads to something a bit better. And you compare what I'm doing here to like your normal live stream that isn't necessarily planned in the same way, and it's going to be a lot looser, isn't it? Right? Like it's going to be oh, I find this. Whereas this we can just like really like run through. So hopefully tomorrow, I don't know, like we'll see. I really, because I want to get back to Video Pencil next week. I've got the football pack, and I also want to get 2.1 ready. So this week I need to kind of like get that beta out in just hopefully not too terrible form. But yeah, I want to start seeing how people react to it and actually like start using it and using it on our session next week. So yeah. Thank you for watching today. If you made it this far, I think this music is a bit loud. I think I forgot to change the volume of it. Ooh, do that now. Feel free, you know, if you made it this far and you don't already have CueCam, here is and I still don't know which way to point. Here is a promo code that gives you 20% off your first thing. So thanks for watching. Thanks for making it through. This is my way of thanking you. So feel free to like and subscribe. Come over to squares.tv/discord to join the Discord where I'm usually available. And thank you so much. I will see you soon. Thank you.